What's going on, guys? My name is Josh and I'm back today with an I Know What You Did Last Summer episode 6 recap. Now, a lot of stuff happened this episode, so we got a lot to cover. Before I get started, if you could please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, you better watch out because it's time to get this video started. Let's go. So yes, guys, we are now on episode 6 of I Know What You Did Last Summer, the TV series. And I gotta say, as now, the more we're getting into these episodes, I'm definitely getting more into the show. And I gotta say, I did enjoy this episode probably more than I did the rest of the episode. So I'm definitely starting to now be into the show. And yeah, a ton of stuff happened this episode that we gotta get into. Overall, I gotta say, though, I did like this episode. But yeah, let's get into this episode, episode 6. So the way the last episode, episode 5, ended was the gang was checking out Clara's house. They were checking out where the cult used to live, and Clara comes home with a shotgun, and they all kind of run away. At the end of the episode, though, we do know Margot and Allison gets away because Allison goes to stay at Margot's house. So we know those two get away. At the end of the episode, we did see Riley kind of run off, but we didn't technically see her get away. So now the episode starts off, and we're pretty much following what's happened to Riley. So we see that Riley, she makes it to a fence. She gets through the fence. And she sees, so she's happy. She's like, she texts the gang, I made it out. And she sees a car on the road. She tries to flag them down. And next thing she knows, this truck is coming right at her, trying to run her down. Riley quickly notices that, this car's not trying to help her. They're trying to run her down. So she freaking takes off and she's running and the car's chasing her. And she's actually, I gotta say, she's moving. She's definitely running really fast and she kind of outmaneuvers this car. Not once. I almost believe she did it 2 times where the car was chasing her and she kind of just outmaneuvers them. And then she finally kind of gets away. But she makes that classic mistake where she finally sounds like she gets away. She takes a sigh of relief. And next thing you know, the car hits her. The car hits her. She pretty much grabs her phone and runs and hides behind a tree. She calls her hot mess mom, Courtney, to try to, get some help. Her mom answers. She's like, Mom, I need help. Courtney thinks she's butt dialing her. She's partying. She hangs up on Riley. Next thing we know, there is looks like a machete goes through Riley's chest. And Riley falls to the ground. She looks like she might be reaching her phone. She has her hand out. And next thing you know, the killer chops her hand and pretty much severs her arm. And then that's kind of where the episode begins. So yeah, definitely crazy. Riley, she just made that classic mistake of when someone's chasing you. The killer's after you. He's chasing you down to the car. You don't, take a breath of really, don't stop. Like, be on edge until you're really, really safe. She kind of did that classic horror movie move where she, gets away, takes a breath of, a sigh of relief, and then, the killer gets her. So then we flash forward to the day, and now we're in this episode too. We've seen a lot of signs that, potentially could Dylan be the killer. We see, Dylan. So pretty much Riley's laying there. We do see her wake up from that spot where, she was stabbed. And when we see a truck goes by, Dylan's driving this truck. So it looks like Dylan's also driving this black truck that looks like could have been stalking them. I'm still not convinced that he's the killer, but this episode's definitely making it seem like Dylan could be the killer. So then pretty much we kind of see the gang they're all talking, comparing notes. And then we see that Courtney wakes up and she's talking, to Riley, only to realize Riley's not there. So then she pretty much, she goes to Dylan's house. She looks for Riley there. She realizes, Riley's not with Dylan. Now she's starting to worry. She thinks, okay, Riley got arrested for drugs. And the police have her. And, that one phone call was when she was at the police station. She goes to the police station, accuses the police, like, where's my kid? And the police pretty much are saying, we don't have Riley either. And this is when now Courtney started to panic. Some other instincts are kicking in, and she knows something happened to Riley. She's telling the police officers, like, okay, you need to start looking for her. I have a bad feeling. And the police officers are like, you got to wait 48 hours, and they're not taking her seriously. And she is just not having it. I would say, one, when she didn't answer the phone, Courtney was definitely getting on my nerves then because, her daughter needed her and she was partying. But once she realizes that Riley's missing, I will say I definitely enjoyed Courtney a lot more this episode because she knew something's wrong and she's looking for her daughter. And I really did enjoy her when she's telling the cops, like, you need to find my daughter. Something's wrong. So then, at this point, now Dylan knows that Riley didn't come home. He starts to tell the rest of the gang, and they're like, okay, maybe we should start looking for, Riley as well. And then we see, Riley Allison and Dylan go to pretty much back to the same spot on that same road, and are looking for, Riley as well. They do ended up, and then, meanwhile, as all this is going on, we have a lot of course, this wouldn't be this show without flashbacks. We definitely had flashbacks to that night, and pretty much it's revealed that, which we kind of already knew already, that, Riley, she had feelings for Dylan as well, and she was in love with him. So we're getting flashbacks to that party scene. We do see a scene of, Lennon and Riley together, or pretty much we see it first starts out where we see, Riley is talking to Dylan, and then we see, Dylan sees Allison, and you just see the way Dylan looks at Allison that you could tell he's in love with her, and you can just kind of tell that, Riley's hurt. Then we see a scene later that with Lennon pretty much is like trying to get Riley to dance with her, and it's like, oh, you want Dylan's attention? Let's dance together. And they're kind of doing this dance. Then 2 seconds later, Lennon takes Dylan up to sleep with, or pretty much Lennon grabs, Dylan and takes him up to the room to sleep with him. I'm going to say, first of all, and I've already, excuse my language, but Lennon was a little bitch. I'm sorry, but she was. She was awful. One, she knew her sister Allison was in love with Dylan, so she slept with Dylan out of spite. And then not only that, she knew Riley was also in love with Dylan, and then she still slept with Dylan anyways. All these characters are in love with Dylan, and she just slept with Dylan just to, hurt the other characters. I just thought that was so mean, and I gotta say, I'm so happy her character died, because, yeah, she was definitely awful and the worst, and yes, I'm just so sick of these flashbacks, though, because I'm over London. I do not need to see London anymore. I don't need to see her in flashbacks. She's awful. I'm happy she's dead, and I don't want to see her anymore. I just want to be done with her. But anyways, moving on. So then the gang finds Allison and Lennon, they realize that, they find Riley's arm, and they realize, oh my God, Riley got her arm chopped off. So now they're really freaked out. And at the same time, we see Courtney, at one point, she goes to the twins' father, I think Bruce, I think that's his name. She goes to Bruce's father. Have you seen Riley? And pretty much and she's just telling them, she's like, I have a really bad feeling. My motherly instinct is telling my kid's in trouble. And yeah, I really liked her character because she was really trying to find Riley. And I appreciated that because Riley was in trouble and Courtney was right. Bruce is kind of trying to comfort her, and he pretty much says, I know what you are going through because, I lost the kid. And this is where Courtney is a hot mess. I can't believe she said, well, at least you have a spare. His daughter died, and, Courtney said, at least you have a spare. When she said that, I'm like, oh my God, this lady is a hot mess. But yes, I'm happy she at least, is trying to find Riley. So at some point, she gets a text message from Riley's phone saying, help. So then Courtney goes to, pretty much to go to this location to find, Riley. The gang also gets a text message on their phone. So Margot, and at this point, Margot, Dylan, and Allison, they're all freaked out once they figure, that Riley's arm got chopped off. They're like, oh my God, she's dead. And they're like, maybe she's not. And they're just freaked out because the way the killer has worked up into this point, if he kills someone, he texts them that he killed them. So they're like, well, maybe she's alive. But then they also get a text message saying to go to a certain location. So they're going to this location. Courtney's going to this location. So Courtney pretty much goes to the location. She finds Riley's phone, and when she grabs the phone, it's kind of like booby trapped, and next thing you know, there's something wrapped around her neck. It starts to pull her back, and she's hung to death, pretty much. But I gotta say, who is this killer? This killer is like Home Alone. It's like Macaulay Culkin. Is it like a psychotic Macaulay Culkin? Because I feel like he's doing all these booby traps to kill all these characters. Like Johnny got killed kind of with a booby trap. Now Courtney got killed with a booby trap. Yeah, I'm just like, is this a psycho Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone? I don't know. Anyways, though, so Courtney's dead. She gets killed. We do know, though, at this point, we're watching the episode, that Riley is alive, and she's just kind of moving and trying to get away. But she's really hurt because she's stabbed and she's missing an arm. The gang goes to the beach, and pretty much at this location, they get a text message saying, like, bye-bye, Riley. And they're like, oh, the killer is taunting us. You know, Riley's going to be dead in the high tide. And they're just really, really upset. They go back to, Margot's house. And somewhere in the episode, their dad pretty much is trying to get in touch with Allison, because Allison found that photo of, the dad and Clara. So she knows that they were married together or together at one point, and they had that big fight. So he's trying to talk to her. Margot will let him talk to her because Margot has a bodyguard, so he kind of backs off. We do see the dad at one point does go to confront Clara, and pretty much is like, Clara, you got to leave town. Who knows what involvement Clara has with all this, but the spiders that, 3 of the victims that been murdered, they all had spiders in the brain, and Clara has those spiders at her house. So the dad's like, you need to go because you have these spiders. And then pretty much Clara... So then they pretty much discuss, that they have a secret, and Claire's like, well, if I go or don't go, you have these secrets. So then we kind of see that. We then also see later that the dad does finally go back to, he goes back to the house, and he does, confront Allison. Like, he finally gets to talk to Allison, and then he pretty much comes clean, and we find out a lot in this episode. So we pretty much find out that, Bruce, Allison's dad, was married at one point to Clara. So they were together. They were both at one point part of the cult. Then we also find out that, this was the big shocker, that Allison's mom and Lennon's mom is really alive. And she was also part of the cult. And she's not dead. She's alive. But she said, just pretty much tell the twins I killed myself. When really she's alive. And then the dad told the twins that, yeah, your mom died. She killed herself. So now, and Lennon actually knew the truth of this, and Allison didn't. So Lennon knew that their mom really wasn't alive. So when Allison would walk around with this chain on her neck, that's why Lennon was upset. Like, your mom doesn't care about you, because she knows that, or their mom abandoned them. Then it's kind of revealed that, the dad kind of reveals that, him and, Lennon, or him and Lennon got in a fight, and he kicked Lennon out of his car, and that's why Lennon was on the road. That is why, Allison hit her. So now, with finding all this out, Allison's mad, she's upset, and she just is like, I'm not coming home. But he's kind of come clean about his guilty conscience. So she goes in the house, though. She's pretty much going to say, I'm going to stay. Dylan, Margot, and Allison are all going to stay at Margot's house because the killer is loose. He might have killed Riley. At this point, they know Courtney's dead, and they're just kind of freaked out. And one thing I gotta respect about Margot this episode, though, is she's at least smart. She's carrying a gun. So yes, there's a killer after her. She has a bodyguard and she has a gun. So you gotta respect it. Like, she is ready. If this killer comes after her, she will shoot him. So I gotta give her, at least Margot, that. She's kind of a dumb as far as her character, but as far as like her smarts, she's smart because she's willing to defend herself. So I gotta give that up to her. At one point, though, we do see that, Dylan leaves, and this is where Margot's kind of freaked out. She's kind of freaked out, like, could Dylan be the killer? And she's kind of confessing this all to Allison, or pretty much who she thinks is Lennon, and saying, like, I think Dylan could be the killer. And they're kind of all speculating. They're kind of going back and forth as far as that. But they also think that, Clara could be the killer as well. So pretty much the police at this point are now after Clara because they think she's the killer. We then see a flashback to, or not a flashback, but we see Riley. Riley makes it to her house, and she kind of passes out. and she's so close to her house, so close to getting help, and she just kind of falls down to the ground. She's having memories of Dylan, and then pretty much Riley had, the night of the graduation, she confessed her love, or she pretty much made a move at Dylan, and Dylan didn't reciprocate, and she just kind of played it off like, oh, it's just sex, when really, she really loved him and was trying to have sex with him because she was saving herself, because she really loved him, and Dylan did not take it that way at all. He just thinks that, she just was trying to have sex, but there was no feelings there when really she was in love with him. So then we see, Dylan's at the cave. He's carving Riley's name into the wall, and then Clara, or actually, then he kind of goes. He sees these rats, and he goes into the corner, and then he finds all this cult stuff. There's all this stuff hanging. It looks like honey's all over it. Then Clara shows up. At one point when Riley passed out, Clara finds her, and then when Dylan's in this cave, Clara shows up, and she actually had dragged, Riley's cave or body into the cave, and she pretty much tells them we need to it's high tide pretty much. And then it's revealed that Dylan dead, so pretty much either Dylan's the killer, Dylan and Clara the killer, which I kind of doubt, or Dylan's part of the cult. Clara's part of the cult and Dylan's part of the cult, and yeah, so that's kind of where the episode ends. You guys, this was a long episode, and really, when I watch these episodes, I kind of just watch it like you guys do, and then I just record a video and recap what I saw. There was a lot, though, so I feel like I might have missed some stuff in this video, so if I did, please feel free to leave it in the comments, and I might be out of order with some of the stuff I just kind of told, but that was pretty much the gist of what happened in this episode. Overall, though, I gotta say, I did like this episode. I will say, Riley did grow on me, and it looked by the end of this episode that her character died, and I'm kind of upset about it because I did actually start to like her character a lot, and I wanted her to live. As far as the killer definitely, killed her, but it was another episode where we still didn't see the killer, so I still am a little annoyed by that. At this point, I wish we would have saw the killer. It's cool, we kind of got a chase scene, the killer was chasing Riley, but it wasn't that good of a chase scene, to be honest with you. He chased her in the car a little bit. And then she hides behind a tree, and then immediately, she didn't go 2 feet away from that tree, and he stabs her. So as far as that goes, it could have been better. I would have almost had if he hit her with the car and then he chased her and she actually ran, and then it was more of a chasing. I really wish we would have gotten that, and we didn't. So that was kind of a letdown because I was really thinking that, when Riley was going to get chased by the car, we were going to get this epic chase down, and we didn't. And then as far as, getting killed, her mom, Courtney being killed, kind of being killed by a booby trap, that was okay, but it was kind of, I don't know. It was okay. I'll just kind of give it that. It was kind of okay, but nothing it was kind of cheesy. And I know, I just really wish we would have got to see the killer chase Riley, but actually got to see the killer, and then the killer, maybe Riley would have did a good job, but maybe the killer would have caught up to her eventually. I just wish it would have been better in that sense. But overall, though, I did enjoy this episode a lot more. I feel like it's definitely starting to dive more into the mystery of it. And we're slowly trying to figure out that, what's going on, who is the killer. I do think that, from my perspective, I do think Dylan and Clara are part of the occult, but I don't believe Dylan's the killer. I really kind of doubt it, unless maybe he is and they're just being obvious with it. I kind of think he's part of the occult, he's part of the cult, and their whole thing about grabbing Riley, when they previously grabbed Lennon and did the high tide thing. I think they do some kind of ritual for the dead, to kind of have them cross over or something like that. That's what I think that's about. I don't think they're killer, but I do think he's part of the occult, or part of the cult. So that's kind of where I'm at. But what do you guys think? Did you like this episode? Do you think Dylan is the killer? Do you think Dylan and Claire are the killer? Do you think it's someone else? What do you think about, the twins, Lennon and Allison's mom still being alive? Do you think she could be the killer? I definitely think whoever the killer is all wrapped up in this cult and something to do with the mom. I just don't know what. But either way, please leave your comments below, and thank you as always so much for watching.